I'm seeing so many people on their phones. We're going to get the excitement up in here. We're talking about AI and machine learning, and everyone gets excited about AI and machine learning. Can I hear some excitement for AI? There we go, see, everyone gets excited about AI. Brian Gorbett is the head of global advocacy for Intuit, and he is here to talk about why every single business, that means every single person in this room, should be an AI company. So I'd like everyone to welcome Brian onto the stage.
I hope everybody's ready for the fourth industrial revolution. My name is Brian Gorbett, as you heard, and I work at Intuit, and I head up our global advocacy team. And that team basically goes around the globe and talks to businesses, startups of all kinds of sizes about how they can build their businesses, technology, and platforms, either on our platform or other platforms that we serve. So here's a little bit about me. I started my career as a founder. I was a startup out of Cleveland, Ohio. Does anybody know where Cleveland, Ohio is? Wow, it's amazing. It's a small little place. You don't hear many startups starting in Cleveland, Ohio, but where I really found my passion and interest around AI was the 11 years I spent at Microsoft. And now the reason why, just about a year ago, you'll hear a little bit why I went to Intuit and how they're doing a lot of interesting things around AI. So let's just get this out of the way, and I'm not trying to sound condescending, but there's a lot of definitions around AI and ML and what they are. So you could think about AI as basically, and actually John McCarthy, who is kind of one of the godfathers of artificial intelligence, defines it as the science and engineering of making intelligent machines. So that could be doing anything. And so that's why it's important to know that if-then statements is still considered artificial intelligence. It's not, however, considered machine learning, and that is because a human still needs to modify those statements to make changes to the output. Whereas machine learning is essentially a partial portion of artificial intelligence, and it learns over time. And don't be freaked out by like the Skynet and crazy Terminator stuff. We're not there yet. So why do I say it's an AI revolution? Well, there's a lot of studies, and I'm sure many, many people have heard this already, is that the industry, every industry, not just technology, is going to be changed by this. If you go to China now and go get to a Marriott hotel, there will not be a single person in that lobby to check you in. They are all moving to automation. They already, by facial recognition. Now that is a portion of artificial intelligence and a portion of machine learning called deep learning. And so what we're going to talk about, and don't freak out by the end of the world, because you could see that last quote and that last study by Gartner shows there are going to be a lot of jobs that are going to be displaced by artificial intelligence. However, by 2020, it's actually going to create more jobs than it's going to displace. So why now? Why is everybody the buzzword AI and ML? Well, to be honest, it's been around for a long time. Challenge is there hasn't been that much data or collected data to apply artificial intelligence or specifically machine learning to. Data is massive. How many businesses here are collecting data from their customers? How many people have a business? Okay, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was. I thought, because if everybody had a business and didn't raise their hand, you should. And I'm not talking like creepy, scary collecting data about your customer. Sometimes your customer wants you to collect data about them to make their lives easier. And we'll talk a little bit about how Intuit's doing that. And then obviously compute. Machine learning, and especially deep learning that require things like neural networks, require high intensity compute. The cost and the availability of graphic processing units, which essentially handles a lot of that deep learning work, has come down so much and have become so wildly available that now you can actually do and build machine learning models on your laptop. And the reason for that is because the way machine learning works is that it does parallel processing. CPUs do not do that. You need GPUs to take large chunks of data, split them up, and then process them over thousands and thousands of cores so that you come up with the output. And certainly there's been great advances in algorithms. So that's, as you saw maybe if you read really quickly on my first slide, my grandfather was a math professor. So I know math really well. People that want to get into AI and machine learning need to know math really well. It is all math. It are all algorithms. When you start talking about even simple artificial intelligence, there are still equations and algorithms involved. So I just said, oh, it's a big buzz, it's available, why doesn't everybody use it? Well, it's interesting that just in 2018, Gartner's CIO survey, that they survey over 3,000 CIOs across the globe, 1 in 25 of them have started to deploy artificial intelligence. Wait, what? So when I say that, I'm not talking about deploying crazy, scary robots. I'm literally talking about taking data, learning from it, and redeploying outputs that help your customers. Why in the world isn't everybody doing this? The challenge is most of them are just not educated enough to do it. I'm not saying that in a bad way if anybody's a CIO in here. It's because it is a very broad topic. Just start Googling artificial intelligence and machine learning and have yourself a good weekend, because there's a lot of data out there. And a lot of times businesses don't even know they need it. Anybody know what this equation is up here? It's a linear regression algorithm. It's got, that was a simpler version of it, but that linear regression algorithm never is going to equal 1 + 1 = 2. And I'm going to tell you what that means. A lot of businesses said, artificial intelligence, we got to go do it. Turned out, they didn't need artificial intelligence. They might just needed to get another machine that built that widget faster. And the reason I say that is you don't need artificial intelligence to understand that you can increase your supply chain just by adding a truck or two to it. The reason you would get machine learning is that maybe you would start collecting all that data from those trucks, understand the distance they're traveling, and over time keep feeding that data to it. So the problem is, and one of the people that I know from Microsoft, who's probably one of the smartest people in machine learning, said that to me. She said most businesses of any size today think that they could solve all of their problems with artificial intelligence, and most of the time those problems are simple math problems. So what do you do to start? You need to start defining a strategy. And actually, our chief data officer at Intuit has a great YouTube video, and I could share it with attendees later, about how you start to build a team. And when I say build a team, this isn't just going to find yourself a guy that knows a little bit about linear regression or other kind of simple rule-based algorithms. You need a full team to do this. And be clear, data scientists are not developers, and vice versa. Very different skill set, very different skill set. I said that twice because most organizations are just starting to learn that. A data scientist is somebody that really understands how to collect, gather, and organize data in a way that makes it easily consumable to both either people or machines. I don't know, just last week we just announced an acquisition of a company called Origami Labs that is their specialty. AI, artificial intelligence, will help you build, I love this quote, defensible moat around your company. What does that mean? Companies that are in that same business that are not collecting data and using that data to improve their business will get overtaken. How many, well, not here so much, but in the United States, by the way, taxis are not used that much anymore. There's slightly couple other companies that have kind of taken that market, mostly because they started to really understand people's driving patterns, commute patterns, and the way they were going with machine learning and artificial intelligence. There wasn't a single taxi company in the United States that probably even started deploying any part of artificial intelligence. This part, the third bullet here, is something that's very near and dear to my heart, and it is about the ethics of artificial intelligence. Just Google that, and you'll have another weekend of data to go look at. I say that because people start to think about some of the things that have happened, unfortunately. I was at a company, Microsoft, where we deployed a chatbot. I don't know if you've heard about this. A few years ago, you have. That started learning on Twitter. It was great. It was able to communicate and understand and really start to translate languages, until people started feeding it bad things. When a machine starts to hear data, they don't care if it's good or bad. That bot didn't know either. We had to take that one down pretty quickly when I was there, but what we learned from it, and I think what I want to talk to you a little bit about and what Intuit's doing, is we learned how important the gathering of data is, and then the collection of that data, and how we can properly use that data. It's just as important as having mounds and mounds of data. Now, I had a question last Startup Grind when I gave a different talk on AI about what if I don't have a lot of data? Start collecting it. If you do not have people dedicated in your organization today to collecting data in a non-creepy way, that your customers and your users absolutely know exactly what you're doing with your data, exactly what you're doing with their data. It's important. And in most countries, it's the law. So collection of the data is just as important as what you're going to go do with it. And your team will be able to understand that and then take you on that journey to start doing experiments. Because that's the first step of getting any kind of artificial intelligence or machine learning strategy implemented. Do some experiments. Has anybody heard of a company called Kaggle? So Kaggle is a company, just Kaggle.com. I think they're available. I think there's a great company that I worked with at Google when I was there. Google eventually ended up acquiring them, but they have great labs online where you can practice right in a browser. They already have the data sets and the models to get your feet wet with building models. When I say that, I'm talking to the data scientists in the room. I would not just recommend anybody say, hey, I want to go be a data scientist. It's a lot of work. But I'm just saying there's a lot of other information out there that could give you real-world experience on even how to use AI. A good example is spam. Like, companies have been fighting for years and years building algorithms to try to understand when email's good and when email's bad. Anybody have an Outlook or Gmail account in here? So I know in Outlook, you'll start, if you opt in to do this, Microsoft will actually send you an email and it'll use its algorithms to understand whether or not that was junk. And as a user, I get to say, oh yes, that is junk. In machine learning terms, that's called supervised learning. What that means is I'm labeling something for the machine to go look at and know this is bad, junk. And so that machine can start to learn and understand, because I labeled it, that looks like a bad email, so any other emails come in, I'm going to tag spam. That's why you need a team of people to do this. You don't need a single software engineer. You don't need a single data scientist. Now, if you're a small startup, obviously you're not going to go build a whole AI team. But I will tell you, it is the highest, most aggressive job right now, at least in the United States, to go try and find good ones of. It is a market that if you're graduating from a decent college and you have even an undergrad in data science, you're going to get hired. And if you're a startup that knows one of those people, even if you don't want to do AI now, hire them. Make them do something else that's around data, because you're going to need them. So a lot of my friends say, you spent 11 years at Microsoft and you left for Intuit. By the way, we make QuickBooks and other amazing financial software products. And part of that was this mission that we have. And our mission is powering prosperity around the world. Now, that's a bold mission. And Intuit does it very well with amazing people, with the technology they have. It also doesn't help that we have about 349 patents specifically in this space, because Intuit has been doing this for over a decade. Why? Because we have been collecting so much financial information from all these small businesses that they know about, by the way. We're not doing it secretly. So that we can implement things like we have in QuickBooks today called QuickBooks Assistant that allows somebody, a small business, to use our accounting platform and ask real natural world questions of it. Like, how much revenue do you think I'm going to have if I keep getting this amount of invoices in the next 4 months? Boom. We're doing that because our algorithms are constantly monitoring that.
At Intuit, there's lots of opportunities that you can get to flex your machine learning and NLP muscles. My role involves identifying a customer pain point and trying to find the most intelligent way to solve that problem. Intuit has a really wide range of customers. We have customers that are small business owners as well as customers that are individual users. One of the challenges is categorizing their transactions. We try to automate the process as much as possible. We leverage ML and NLP to identify relevant parts of transactions and categorize them automatically. Our main focus is to get transaction budgeting as accurate as possible and to maintain customer confidence in quality and security of our data. The fact that my work can help so many of these people is really an amazing feeling. It makes me feel very proud.
If anybody needs a job, intuitcareers.com. So I wanted to end with somebody that I've known for a while as I was working at an accelerator called Y Combinator. They're most popular for generating the most unicorns out of any accelerator in the world. When I say unicorns, I don't mean real mythical horses with horns on the head. I'm talking about the Ubers of the world and things like that. But what I thought was really poignant when I did an interview with Sam Altman, who also now, by the way, has just stepped down as the president of Y Combinator to focus more energy on a company and a consortium that he calls OpenAI with a bunch of other people. But he said, we have the potential to eliminate poverty, solve climate change, cure human disease, and educate people phenomenally. What will you do? Thank you. Q&A? Questions? Questions? Concerns? Feedback? Anybody have any Slido questions? Any questions in the audience? Come on, there's got to be one. One question. I got T-sheet trucker hats if anybody wants one for a question. Yes, oh, I'm sorry, hello. I could just repeat the question if you...
Oh, good, hello. I'm Ioana. My question is regarding that last quote that you put up. I know someone else said it, but just for fun. How do you think AI can eliminate poverty?
How can AI eliminate poverty? Think about all the waste of food. Think about when restaurants, somebody doesn't pick up an order. Think about how people can start to learn temperatures of food and figure out ways that they could use machine learning to figure out ways they can get food places faster, getting people access to food faster, and the transport and the relief efforts of different places that are going to send food to them. None of that's being done with AI at all today. It's just a bunch of trucks that drive around giving food out to people. Farmers are starting to use it to understand how climate impacts how much they can produce. So that's just a couple examples, but there's tons of ways that you can just think about how not only that, but the creation of food can be better by using machines to figure out certain climates, certain days of the week, certain places to store food, and there's a whole consortium for the farmers around the world that are thinking and looking at that right now. Does that help?
No. Do you think that in the future, people who are already in poverty can learn and be able to use AI themselves in order to be self-empowered?
I think anybody can learn AI. Whether you eat well or you don't eat at all. I mean, I think, let's be clear, it is just something you're just going to pick up. But if anybody puts the time and effort and energy in it, and also just utilize just the mounds and mounds of resources that are already available without having to learn everything, absolutely.
Okay.
Just an aside, if anyone doesn't want to put their hand up or has any questions, there's a Q&A section on the app, which Slido are moderating just now.
Hi. My question is, do you need to have a whole load of money to be able to use AI and ML effectively? So as a small startup, how do you think you could go about using any data that you gather to be able to use AI or ML effectively?
No, you don't need a ton of money. What you do need is you need to have the money you're going to spend on doing AI anywhere is the resources you're going to hire to get somebody to do it for you. Now, do it well. Anybody could go and do it. You could download TensorFlow from Google, and start doing AI today. There's nothing, you could follow simple Kaggle labs and you could start doing AI today. The challenge most companies or startups have is they just don't have enough data. Machine learning does not work if you do not have a lot of data, flat out. Just doesn't. You will not get any benefit from doing anything with it if you do not have mounds of data. So right now, data, I said this last year, data is king. If you are not collecting data, you need to. That is why Google has free versions of products. If you don't have a free trial version of product that you're collecting data on your customer, you should. That's free data. And what you're using that data for is to make their lives better and make your product better and automate some very tedious things that they might have to do in their product. So not a lot of money. There's lots and lots of resources out there. And like I said, you could buy a laptop with a fast GPU in it today, made by NVIDIA or ATI, and actually do things that had taken days that now only take minutes on a laptop. Yes, ma'am. One more question. Because it is hot up here.
Hi, I'm Maya. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Mine is more of a general question.
Sure.
So to what extent can we ever really overcome the risk of AI exacerbating and building upon existing entrenched biases that exist within society?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first part of it.
I said, to what extent can AI ever overcome the risk of embodying and exacerbating existing biases within society?
So how can AI fix the biases in society, or you're worried that it's going to go create
I'm
worse?
worried that it's going to make any biases that exist worse.
Okay, yeah, so the ethics around it. There's a great little test that Facebook did, and I'll just give you this real quickly. Facebook did with two computers learning from each other that then changed their language that they were speaking. And Facebook literally had to shut them down because they didn't know what they were doing anymore. But they were still going. They were going great. There's plenty of Google, just Google that. Facebook robot crazy. I don't know, just do that, you'll find it. But there are an entire ethics category around where you start to worry that what you're doing might be exasperating the problem, and there's ways to stop it. Now, Facebook learned that, and they shut it down. There's ways that you could prevent that within your code and the things that you're doing, but I think that people just apply normalcy and decent humanity to AI, which you should do anyway, and everything you do. I think all of those worries and problems typically go away. Thank you, everybody.